Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, and today we've got an absolutely killer video for you. We've got an absolute conquest killer of a deck. A brand new style of bullseye deck is that one. We've got a scam deck that's crushing in over 200 ladder games at a 64% win rate, and we've got a 70% win rate in 50 games version of, well, I don't even know how to explain it. It's sort of like a Sarah Sarah deck that I think you're really going to love. But we have to actually make sure that you're up to date on what one of the best decks in the game is. This is the best version, at least in my opinion, of the current Scream list. This one is putting up stats. This one is the deck that you're going to see basically about 50 to 60% of your games in Top Infinite right now are either the Scream deck in this style or they are the Thanos deck, or one of the two Thanos decks. We have to cover the update to this because they're now running Shang-Chi, and I can't have all my viewers losing a bunch of cubes when Shang shows up. Kingpin was in this for a while. Smiles made this around the hot location of last week when Kingpin was a really great ad, and everyone was playing Move, but power must be controlled. Smiles created the original version of this. Salty literally took out Kingpin, put in Shang-Chi, and then absolutely crushed. We'll take a look at his stats very shortly. This deck needs both Scream and Sam Wilson. Batrock can be Hydra Bob, but you lose a ton. Batrock is excellent in this list. Red Guardian can be Rocket Groot, Hydra Stomper, or Silk. Cannonball can be Arrow, but you do lose a fair amount for that. One more key thought here. Red Guardian is an incredibly important meta card right now, and one I strongly urge you to prioritize getting. If you can get together 6,000 tokens, and remember, your collection track now has 3,000 tokens, wherever it used to have a Spotlight Cash on it, get Red Guardian. I don't think you'll regret it. Batrock, it's also worth noting, we're not going to do a last chance review of Batrock because he's just going to sit in the Series 4 bundle for the next 2 months, right? So you can always find him. But the important thing to note about Batrock the Leaper is that you're going to lose a little bit with him at first. It's going to take some time. If you're not the type of person who plays the most attention, if you like to play very casually, you might have trouble with Batrock. He's very fun, but he is finicky, so be forewarned. However, he does play for almost always at least 8 power in this deck. Literally, just by playing him down, you're going to be able to get him reasonably big here, and that's obviously hugely important. A lot of people are running things that move cards, which will work for him, and he triggers off both you and your opponent's moves. We run a 1-3 in the hood to get access to a 1/6, and Batrock is basically that for free. He's absolutely incredible. Scream remains one of the best cards in the game, a 4 power scaler, but even better if you have Batrock out, she becomes what amounts to a 6 power scaler, which is absurd. Just crazy power happens with the Scream package. She remains one of the best cards in the game. We're actually going to skip ahead as we talk about the Scream package to Spider-Man, Polaris, and Stegron because they are the other Scream package cards that make this deck really sing or make the Scream package really sing. Those cards allow you to play sort of a mini clog game plan. You are fairly effective with those three cards, Polaris, Spider-Man, and Stegron, at clogging or messing up where your opponent is playing their cards. If you can get that clog, that's when the last card, the finisher Cannonball, becomes so important because now if you can win that lane, and you have a lot of scalers, if you can win that lane, then you should be able to go from there to being able to use Cannonball to win another lane because that's fundamentally what he does. Scream and Craven offer you an extra little power package in the deck. Sam Wilson is a nice 7 power card if you get him down on turn 2 or turn 3. Craven scales up 2 each time it gets a card moved on him. Obviously, that Craven also works with Spider-Man, Polaris, Stegron, Batrock, or Juggernaut, Cannonball as well. But they are a power package in the deck. They're now just in an absolute ton of decks because Batrock came out, and now there's very little reason not to run this little 3-card insane power package. But if you're running a Scream deck and you're running extra move, it gets even better. Juggernaut has 2 real uses. You can use it early to mess up your opponent. You're often going to get a clog around turn 4 or turn 5 when you know an opponent has to play in a specific spot. Juggernaut at those points is extremely powerful. Or you can use him if you're stuck with Cannonball on turn 5 or don't see your Cannonball on turn 6 as a way to win a lane on the cheap. Red Guardian offers you control of several key meta cards, notably Strange Supreme, opposing Screams, opposing Sam Wilson's. I am partial, personally, to trying to hit Sam Wilson, not the shield. When I get my Red Guardian, if I can pull that off, I will fairly often play like a Red Guardian and a Miles on turn 4 in order to try and hit Sam because I want to get that shield stuck somewhere to really help my clog plan. If you hit the shield, yes, it won't be buffing Sam, but it can still buff Craven, it can still trigger Batrock, and it can still be moved around. The only cards really left to talk about are Shang-Chi and Miles Morales. Shang-Chi is here because sometimes opponents play big things, and having an answer to that is very nice and steals you cubes. And Miles is a 1/6, which means on the last turn of the game you can play with Cannonball, but you should be moving things around here most turns, so you can basically always have access to a 1/6. With this deck, Salty went 15-3, which is a absolutely stupid 79% win rate and plus 26 cubes. Again, that's absurd numbers. Turn 1 is Batrock. Turn 2 is Scream, which is more or less equal to Sam. You will play Scream if you're going to go into Polaris. If you have the Spider-Man follow-up with a 1-drop, that kind of thing, that at that point you will play Scream. If not, you are looking to play Sam for Craven in particular. And that's better than just playing Craven, which is better than dropping Batrock. Turn 3, if Scream, Polaris. If Sam, Craven, and Red Guardian if you have a prio target. Red Guardian is also a possibility on turn 4. Generally on turn 4, I like to go 2+2. If I went Scream, this is a really good Sam Craven turn, for example. Or if I went Sam into Craven, now I can play Scream and Peter Parker Spider-Man. That kind of thing is really good here. Don't be afraid to drop the miles early, especially if you see like a Thanos deck, because that deck does tend to like randomly run Mobius. If you get it out early on the cheap, you won't regret it usually. Stegron is a fine play here. Remember, you're trying to use Stegron and Polaris to clog. Turn 5, you want Stegron on a 1, or you can play a 3+2. This is, again, like, oh, I didn't get my Red Guardian out. Now you can. Cannonball, you can play here if you're going to Jug or Shang last turn, and you should know at this point if you're going to do so. Turn 6, Jug Plus or Cannonball or Shang, and you play any of these cards with Miles, and you should be able to win the game. There is a ton of power in this deck. This is a Tier 1 deck. This is one of the 3 best decks in Marvel Snap, period. The 3 best decks being, at this exact moment, Thanos, Ongoing, Thanos Control, and Scream. Surfer is making a late push. Both the Surfer in the Friday video, the Heart of the Card Surfer, and the Surfer I shared yesterday, my own brew of Surfer, are well above 60% in High Infinite, and they are pushing their way potentially into Tier 1. But for the time being, I'm very confident, like 100% confident, that Thanos, and Scream are the top of the meta, and this is the best version right now of that deck. We're going to keep going, but before we get to the next deck, the one I'm most excited to show you, the most different deck here, I'm going to ask you to hit that sub, like, and comment, please. We'd put out a video every single day, 7 days a week. Today, this is video 1 of 2. There will be a second video later today where we release the podcast episode of Snap Judgments. So please sub, like, and comment it if you want the most Marvel Snap content. We're trying to hit 25,000 subs in 2025. Help us out. In addition, we're giving away 5 Esme Cuckoos this week. All you have to do is sub, like, and comment. That'll be the comments of 5 different videos. I'm not going to tell you which 5 videos, but it'll be the comments of 5 different videos that win the new card, Esme Cuckoo. All you have to do is sub, like, and then later this video, I will ask you a specific comment to leave. Actually, I think I didn't write the question, but it's fine. That is also, by the way, when we're going to go over our giveaway winner. It'll be on that same slide with the question. All right, next up, we've got Unhelpful Yoda's Luke, Move the Force. I named this not Yoda, but it's Yoda, so I decided to go with that. This deck is basically the combination of a Sarah deck and a Scream deck, and it is a thing of beauty. It's got so many meta answers. This is like perfectly teched out for the current meta, and it should be able to beat almost anything. It'll struggle a little with Surfer, except that Surfer reasonably often can lead you into like a nice shongable target through Captain Carter, but like almost everything else is just sort of like smashed in the face by this. This list is incredible power. This one is created by the Unhelpful Yoda. Not a content creator, but he is a top 100 player on the Infinite Leaderboard, basically always one of my regular opponents. This deck does need Batrock, Stomper, and Sam. We're going to do our Hydra Stomper last chance review after this to discuss why. Laufey can be Man-Thing here. Laufey is better. Laufey is, well, we'll talk about when we do the card by card, but Man-Thing is still very powerful. They are fairly similar in power. Laufey is a little better if you don't have Luke. Well, sorry, Man-Thing's like necessary if you don't have Luke, but Laufey has like a higher ceiling. Let's put it that way. Anti-Venom can be Sarah. This is almost a Sarah-less Sarah list. I think you really want Anti-Venom for it, though. All right, so Batrock, Sam Wilson, Craven, Silk, and Hydra Stomper are a package in this list. Basically, what they're saying is you can generate enough early power to beat this very competitive and dangerous force. You're going to want to be like super duper careful not to play both Batrock and Silk if the opponent has any sort of clog. Like if they play Kate Bishop, hold one in hand. If there's any locations that give any extra cards, don't do it. But if you have 3 clear locations, you should be able to play Batrock and Silk relatively effectively, and they should be just this power generating monster. Because between the two of them, you're going to end up with like a 13, 14, 15 power Hydra Stomper. You're going to end up with a 10 plus power Craven. And of course, you have the 1/7 Sam Wilson, and all of those cards go together incredibly well. Silk and Batrock, or Silk or Batrock, both lead to extremely big Hydra Stompers. Either one of them with just Sam's shield will also lead to like a 9, 10, 11 powers Hydra Stomper. You do want to, generally speaking, in Marvel Snap, play 3s that scale up that high. Because he's an ongoing, you don't have to play him early. You can drop him at the end of the game as a surprise power spike, while you also thanks to the power of Zabu, play like an Enchantress or Shang-Chi. That is the real use of Zabu here. Zabu is trying to give you access to a 3-drop um, Shang-Chi or Enchantress in order to play on turn 6. You will happily play an early Anti-Venom in this list, but generally speaking, what you're really trying to do is make it so you can play one of your key cards in Hydra Stomper late. Um, Luke Cage is here for 2 real reasons. Luke Cage gives you basically, if you just drop it on 3, protected obviously, most most Scream decks are just screwed. You should be able to turn off, well, not screwed. You should be able to turn off a lot of their power. If they're not getting Scream power, you can match them in power with your early game stuff, which is obviously extremely useful. It's also going to give your Anti-Venom card back its power or your Lawfeed cards back their power. There are a reasonable number of games where the end of the game is Hydra Stomper and Luke Cage. Luke Cage spikes up all your power. Hydra Stomper is huge, and then you should be able to win. The other thing that Luke Cage offers us here is there is still a reasonable amount of affliction, particularly the high evolutionary affliction is all over the place. If you slam down a Luke Cage, generally speaking, a little earlier there, you can get their Abomination stuck in their hand, and now their Ajax is no longer a real threat. Power must be controlled. Ongoings must be controlled. Duh. Enchantress is here specifically for the ongoing Thanos. If you're curious about like why an ongoing answer, because ongoing Thanos is otherwise a very, very hard match to win. This gives you basically a win because Laufey in one lane is very often a win against Thanos because those stones become useless, and then you can pop your power back up. Getting double dipping on Laufey, basically. All right. If you play Laufey, if you play Luke then Laufey, you're only taking from opponent's cards, which is nice. But if you play Laufey, you on a bunch of your cards and a bunch of their cards, you get power from all of them, and then you play Luke. Laufey keeps his power, but all of your cards regain their power, meaning you're getting to double dip. That's why he's in the deck, largely for that power and that Thanos matchup. Miles Morales is a 1/6. 1/6s are good. That's basically the whole logic here. And then Anti-Venom gives you the ability to, like, if you don't get that Zabu stuff going, get you one of your cheap cards that can really work for you. You don't super want to hit the bottom row with Anti-Venom, although, like, honestly, Batrock can scale up reasonably. You'll still get, even without Luke, if you play Batrock on 5 and you have a mover, you should still be able to get a 1/4 out of that. That's still ahead of curve. Like, and all those moves are still going to puff up Hydra Stomper. Hydra Stomper's only 2 power to start, so it's not the end of the world. Hitting Enchantress and Miles is annoying, but almost like everything else, you sort of end up just fine with because they're scalars anyway. And like, you'll absolutely take a 0/0 Shang-Chi, right? Like, who cares? Have fun. So Anti-Venom is a beast. I'm so happy to see Anti-Venom in a deck again. One of my favorite cards that started to disappear. With this deck, Yoda went 38 and 16, 70% win rate, plus 53 cubes. That's nearly a 1 cube average, 53 games at high infinite. That is absolutely top notch. Turn 1, you want Zabu over Batrock. Remember that Zabu is very important here. Yes, even if you're going to get some moves. If you're going to get some moves, you should be able to sneak Batrock in on turn 3, and you'll lose what amounts to 2 power on him. Sam is better than Craven, which is more or less equal to Silk on turn 2. Although, again, if you played Batrock, Craven is immediately better than Silk. Be very careful with that combo until you've seen all 3 locations. Turn 3, Craven if Sam with a 1. This is when you're going to drop that Batrock, or if you see Zabu now, drop Zabu. You can also play Stomper and Luke. Luke can be a snap condition against certain matchups. If they played Scream and you know you can protect Luke from an opposing Red Guardian, that's a snap. If they played, if they're clearly lining up to be an Affliction deck, Luke can be a snap. Turn 4, Anti-Venom over Laufey, and if Anti-Venom hits a Shang-Chi, if Anti-Venom hits a key card, that can end up a snap condition. If you already have Luke and you play Anti-Venom, that can be a snap condition. If it hits like a Laufey, a 0-power Laufey, that's going to be like 13, is pretty damn good. Turn 5, you go 3/2 or a control card. This could also just be Anti-Venom or Laufey just fine. So you're playing whatever you can, whatever makes sense in the situation. Turn 5 is very hard to explain because you're going to have to look at the board hyper specifically. Turn 6, Stronger Enchantress Laufey, Luke Stomper in some combination. Ideally, you can combine 2 3s and then a 0'd Anti-Venom card. Like if you go Luke and Stomper with a free Stronger Enchantress or a free Laufey, you should be good to go. Beautiful list. Props to Yoda for coming up with it. It's great to see this kind of list work. This is basically this move package with a control package on top to make sure that the move package and its scalars are good enough to win the game. While Luke Cage is just missing from the meta, having him back is a absolute winner, an absolute beast of a play. From here, it's time for our last chance review of Hydra Stomper, and I think unless you want to play that last list, Hydra Stomper is likely a skip for now. I think he's an incredible card if you're going all in, but he sort of does need to go all in on the small move. So if you're not going to go all in on the small move with Sam Wilson and Craven and Silk and Batrock, then I don't think you really want him. You can see that first Scream deck doesn't bother running him because it's not running Silk. And if you're not running like the extra, if you're not going all in on it, I think that he ends up just slightly too small to really be worth it most of the time. If you do want to go all in on it, I can suggest you buy him. But for most players, that's only like one specific style of deck. If that style of deck, like the previous deck we talked about from Yoda, if that style of deck becomes more popular, if that style of deck becomes more versatile, and that package goes into more different lanes, then we can revisit exactly what we want to do with Hydra Stomper. But for the time being, I think he's a skip, and I'm more comfortable saying that he's a skip right now because the spotlight system is gone, and the snap pack system means that, like, hey, if he suddenly ends up completely amazing, if there's some deck that's amazing for him, you can just go back and buy him later because now we just use tokens to buy. So it's nowhere near as imperative that you like get him right now. So like I'm only going to be like, oh my god, get him right now if the card is truly exceptional, and I think Hydra Stomper does fall short of that. I should be streaming at some point relatively late tomorrow at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. If you're interested in checking it out, I'm thinking of going live about 8 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out and say hi. The season pass question is not, in fact, how did you like the season? It's did you or are you planning to see Thunderbolts? The end of this video is going to have my Thunderbolts review because I did go see Thunderbolts. So the season pass question once more will be, did you see Thunderbolts? If so, did you like it? And two, are you planning to see Thunderbolts? Our last winner of Captain Carter is Bimbuskizike. I don't know how to say that, but sure. Please reach out to me either through email or Discord or Twitter, however the hell you really would prefer to, or you can comment here and I'll ask you for a way to contact you if you prefer. But come claim your Captain Carter because you are our last Captain Carter winner. Next up, we've got Zenaid's Sauron Scam as we've hit the halfway point of this video. Zenaid is a top player. He's one of the Husky puppies. I believe he is currently 17. He is playing a Sauron Scam list that is really, really good and very dangerous. Electra here is hilarious. Spoiler alert, if you get a really good deck that has Electra in it, I'm probably going to feature it, friends. Electra in it is hilarious. So this deck needs Electra's here, by the way, for Batrock. You just get to kill like 8 power on their side of the board, making Electra play for like a 110. It's very awesome. Zenaid is the creator of this list. It needs Starbrand and Legion. Iron Patriot can be Sam or Armor. Ares can be Typhoid Mary, and Makari can be Gladiator. All right, so Electra's here, again, largely for Batrock, but hey, Thanos always has ones. If you kill a 1-2 with this, you've just played a 1-4 in value. 1-4 in value is still good value from your 1-drop, but there is enough to hit. Sometimes you'll get a Human Torch, for example. There is still enough to hit with this that it is a worthwhile tempo card to mess with. I know, Electra meta, who'd have thought? Not me. 0 is your backup Sauron. It lets you play Ebony Maw on turn 2 if you don't see Sauron. The other thing it really does is it gives you access to Starbrand. Those are the 2 cards you want to use 0 on. You can use it on Lizard, but it's not usually worth it. Hitting that Starbrand is huge. So a lot of times if you don't see your Sauron, your turn 4 play will be 0 into Starbrand. Or your turn 5 play will be like Ares into 0 so that you can Starbrand on turn 6. Ebony Maw is a 1-7. 1-7s are good. You 0 it or you Sauron it. Sauron's the most important card on the deck. Getting a 1-7 is just so much stats, as is 3-10, and Sauron gives you access to those cards. Iron Patriot should basically always work for you here, whether you play it on turn 2, turn 3, or turn 4, because you can use Negasonic, Juggernaut, and Starbrand to win that lane. That's a lot of power. You should be able to win a Starbrand, which is going to give you access to a cheap card almost all the time. Lizard is a 2-6. You would very much like to Sauron it. If you can't, it's probably better to play it late so you can play it in a place they're not going to fill and get a 2-6. Not great against Thanos, but hey, Electra solves that problem for you. Juggernaut also helps solve that Lizard problem, as does Negasonic. Juggernaut also gives you a cheap way to win a lane at the end. Juggernaut also gives you a nice way to win Iron Patriot. Negasonic does most of those things as well, especially when it's obvious your opponent only has 1 card to play. You've got Prio. Negasonic is just so free cubes. Makari gets you Prio. Prio is extremely important for Juggernaut and Negasonic, and thus it is here. It's also important for Electra to hit Batrock, because otherwise you don't know where the hell that card will be. Starbrand is a 3-10, and that's big. Ares is usually, in this list, a 4-12, and that's big. And meanwhile, Legion gives you a way to scam based on locations, gives you a way to find exactly what you want in order to win the game, which obviously has great value. This one has a 64% win rate in 200 games. Turn 1, you are passing 99.99% of the time, unless there's like a deep space or something that you can drop a Maw in. Turn 2, Sauron is a snap condition over Iron Patriot, who's a snap condition if you can win that location, over 0 for Maw or Starbrand over Lizard. Turn 2, 0 to set up a 4, Negasonic or Juggernaut for Iron Patriot, Starbrand if you Sauron. You can also feel free to just drop your Iron Patriot here. Turn 4, Ares or 0 and Starbrand or 2+2. Turn 5, 3+2 or Legion, or if you didn't play your Starbrand or your Sauron, now you can go Ares and 0, just fine. And then Juggernaut, Negasonic, Legion, Maw, some combo of stuff to end the game. Sometimes if you did that like Ares into 0 play, it'll be Juggernaut or Negasonic with Starbrand. Cool. Really, really, really cool list. This is scammy as hell. You're going to have to practice playing it to know what to do with it. But once you know what to do with it, opponents cannot plan for all the 18 things you're going to do to ruin their day. Enjoy your cubes, friend. If you look to some gameplay this morning, check out the stream team. It is Sunday, so about 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh Behaved will be live. We're going to brunch with some friends. A little late for one of their birthdays, so I won't be live during the day today, but I will be live tonight. So go check out our friend Oh Behaved today. We're finishing up with Zilk Conquest. This is a viewer submitted deck. Zilk did an amazing job writing this up, while he was also able to provide me a bunch of stats for this list, which is basically the baseline for if you want to submit a deck. I'm going to need like at least 20, and I reserve the right to request more games of stats, some proven wins, some level of play. Care much less about pre-infinite than post-infinite, and I'm going to need you to do some writing up of the deck if you're like unknown, or unless you're like top 10% infinite, I guess, right? Like if sorry, like top 10, 20 in the game. If you're top 10, 20 in the game, you have a unique build, fine. Playing it at that level proves it, right? But outside of that, I would that is basically the gist of getting it in. Zilk did an unbelievable job writing this deck up. I think I understand it really well, and I think this deck is really cool and can put up enough power in the meta. I don't like the Bullseye Daken list in the meta right now, the standard list with Modok and Swarm and all that stuff, but this version should actually solve that problem because it's not bothering with the multiple game plans. It's just saying I'm all in on Daken, although there is one backup game plan. That says Jet for no reason because I forgot to delete yesterday's Jet. This one is from Zilk. We need Nico, Daken, and Bullseye for this list. We also need Grandmaster. Sorry, the high series cards are just required here. However, outside of Nico, you don't need Agony. Agony can be any decent one drop, although be careful, you don't want to fill up too much board space here. So, okay, let's go through the cards. Agony is here largely to go on Daken. You can also play Agony with a Nico +2. The Nico +2 works really well. So if you get the Nico +2 with Agony and Hulkbuster, you can then Grandmaster and Zola that and end up with two 64 power lanes. That is rare and like the ultimate backup situation for the deck, but it is a thing you can do. So Nico ×2 on Agony with Hulkbuster and Grandmaster. Then you Zola it. Zola will trigger the second Nico trigger, right? Like those, the Nikos you get from that will again immediately double. That's going to be two 64 power lanes. It's great. Luckily, it's not consistent. Luckily for the game, not for this deck, because that would be completely broken. But it is a way you can go about doing things if you don't see your Daken. However, you can get your Daken combos off up until turn 7, and you should draw every card from this deck. So Agony is here largely to go on Daken or to do that specific Nico combo. She's here also because she can help you keep some space open, and space is at premium in this deck. Nico Minoru is here for, we talked about the double spell. The other things Nico does here is she offers you an extra way to copy Daken. Copying Daken can be, but not always is extremely important for Nico. Sometimes you'll frigate, sometimes you'll Zola it. You can do it that way. You can also use Nico to make sure you see all your cards. And early on, feel free to use Nico to blow up your Agony, your Hulkbuster in particular. If you're playing it on turn 2 to blow up, you can blow up a crystal and just basically fill your hand. You can blow up your magic. You can also use Grandmaster on a Nico on the side if you've got that double, and like if you just need to see all your cards, and at that point, Nico will immediately draw Grandmaster. Again, you should see your whole deck. Grandmaster has that Nico play. It has two other key plays in the list. They are, number one is obviously Daken. Getting the third chart for Daken is of pivotal importance for this list, and Grandmaster gives you one way to do that. The other thing that Grandmaster does here is, and I know this is not going to seem intuitive, is it hits Crystal. Crystal is your backup way to see all your cards. You do need to see all your cards here, and having Crystal is one way to do so. From there, we go on to the Hulkbuster, again, largely for Daken, but also for Nico, but also saves some space. If you Grandmaster across a Hulkbuster, just for the record, it will still attach. I don't suggest you do that often, but it is an option for the deck. Magic gives you enough turns to do all the combos. There is a Daken is the very bottom card of the deck. At that point, if you've played Bullseye sooner, and you almost always played Bullseye sooner, right? You can immediately, thanks to Magic and Hope Summers, go Daken into Zola and trigger Bullseye, and all of a sudden you just have so much power you should be able to win. Juggernaut can obviously ruin that, but such as life. From there, we go Bullseye. Bullseye is one of the two ways you have to get rid of Daken shards. Remember, you're trying to get rid of 3 shards, which also is going to make Bullseye play for a 3, 3, 5, 7, 9, 3, 9. Yeah, which is pretty nice. You also sometimes will end up discarding like your Agony and Nico, but whatever. That's not the point. Killmonger is your backup way to get rid of your Daken shards. It has a backup use though. This deck has board space at a premium. Killmonger allows you to not have to worry about squirrels and not have to worry about raptors, which could otherwise ruin your deck. Crystal is one of your draw packages. If you can draw cards with Crystal, you should be able to win. Daken is the most important card. Again, you are copying it with Nico, you're copying with Frigga, or you're doubling it with Zola. If you copy it with Frigga or Nico, remember that you're going to have to Grandmaster 1 to the mid in order to get the 3rd shard, which is so important. It's a little less important here because of the Agony and Hulkbuster. Like if you play it on an Agony, it's now a 3/6. If you play a Hulkbuster on it, it's now a 3/9, and doubling it to 18 can sometimes still win, but the 3rd shard is still far, far safer. Frigga, Daken, duh. You can copy like a billion power Nico, but Frigga, Daken. All right. Hope Summers gives you 2 real uses. Sometimes, especially in 6-turn games, you're going to need to play 2 3s on 5 relatively badly. You're going to need to get down like that second Daken and Bullseye, for example. You're going to need to do something like that, and Bullseye gives you the opportunity. Sorry, Hope gives you the opportunity to do that. The other thing is on turn 7, if you play 2 cards on Hope on turn 6, be careful, obviously, of Legion of Reality Stone. But if you play 2 cards on Hope on turn 6 and you draw Daken on turn 7, you will then have 9 energy. 7 plus 2 is 9. You can play Daken, Zola, and immediately Bullseye and win. Cool. And then Zola is obviously here for Daken with the backup plan of being here for Nico. This one has won 3 Infinity Borders, and it has an like 80% win rate at Infinite Conquest. It's also got a really solid win rate on ladder, but Zilk mostly plays ladder as a way to finish missions, so there's not enough of a sample to really draw conclusions. Turn 1 is Nico copy for Daken. You'll happily pass 2 for that, or draw 2. If not, you're passing. Turn 2 is the same as 1. You can drop an Agony or Hulkbuster alone if hand size issues are around. Turn 3, Bullseye is better than Hope. Hope's job, again, is 2 3s on 5 or 9 energy on 7 over Magic over Crystal. Turn 4, Agony plus Daken on a side lane. If you want, you can obviously do any of the turn 3 stuff. Turn 5, if possible, you want Frigga, and you can use Hulkbuster with Frigga to make sure you're hitting Daken if Daken was alone. Like if you play Daken on 3, something else on 4, but you have Hulkbuster, you can play the Hulkbuster on the Daken alone on turn 3, right? And then from turn 3, and then when you Frigga, you're still going to get that Daken, the bonus Daken, or you can Grandmaster that Daken now. Once you frigate it, and then Grandmaster the Daken is perfectly fine. You can Magic if you need any part of your combo. Turn 6, Daken and trigger Bullseye, or Zola and trigger Bullseye. You can do this on turn 7 as well. Remember that if you don't have your Bullseye, you can just play your shards and Killmonger them here too. That works plenty frickin' well, and then you should have enough to win the game, because Daken is at least 32 power, very likely more. This list is really awesome. If you like Bullseye lists and want to try something a little lower to the ground, a little more combo-centric, I hope you give it a try, especially in Conquest, where I think this is a great list. Question of the day is very simply going to be my Thunderbolts star review. So my thoughts on the movie Thunderbolts are, it was absolutely excellent. This is my second or third favorite Marvel movie of Phase 3. Oh, my child is home. My Thunderbolts was absolutely incredible. I think it's a little bit worse than so hi Noah, I'm recording. Give me 2 minutes, okay? So to me, I think it's right on par with Spider-Man No Way Home. I think it's every bit as good as Noah. Can you please chill for a minute? I'm almost done. It's and Shang-Chi is one of my like top 5 favorite Marvel movies. I think it's every bit as good as those. I think it's a matter of personal preference where you launch it, where you put it. But I do think that Marvel is fully back with this. This is, again, like the best Marvel movie in at least several years since like the immediately right after Endgame movies. So I think this one is 100% worth seeing. If you liked all the older Marvel movies but were falling out of love with the newer ones, go see Thunderbolts. You'll love it. From there, we've got to do our Patreons, and because my son is trying very hard not to be annoying and disrupt me during this video, I will go as quickly as I can through patreon.com/snapjudgments. If you're interested in checking it out, please do. Our patron of the month is Bricks to Click. Thank you to Abigail Giesel, Manager, Bernard Irregalis, LEB, Inc., Iron Frostman, Hota, Never Think Poker, Prime Ryan, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Ren Wrench, Kier Tixley, Corey Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia Provost, The Goat Seeker Code, Hollowed, Only Fox, Synth, Frat Nick, Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Raku, Haplo, Candy Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Biz, Black Jeeves 23, Extra C, and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, What's Up Jess, Mr. Slush, The King Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Capsule, Lunar Chris, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Ralph Subman, Apollo, David G, Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, Mr. Greg Starry, Matt V, and Corwin, John Q, and Jimmy McHugh, Yes Out, 8 Sage, One Big Man, Bookman for Reals, Cactus Jack, Reapzer, BG, Good Pro, Joe got a great question in yesterday, Snap Decisions, Joe, D. Carlo, Models One Supreme, Bickety Boom, Bot, Green, Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, The Fuzzy Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H, DJ Mike Hutchings, No Freaking Flex, Nick the Greeky Snicky, Toxic Soul King, Sadrex, the King of Canada, Demman Falcon, Fowler Newman, Jonesy, Two Tides, the Great Lord Evans, the Pirate King Tucker, and of course, Gunning T, where the T stands for. I think I did that fast enough. Let's hope so. I'll see y'all tomorrow for another Snap Take, or later today, or on stream. We got lots of ways to see you. Peace.